There is no good news in this report unless you know where to look. Now, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BLS, came out with the new, most important data, what everyone's been waiting for, what President Biden and his staff, what the Federal Reserve and the banksters have all been waiting for. And that is this month's CPI data, which would help us to understand if the Federal Reserve and the White House has gained any control and if they have any credibility left at all. Both the President and the Federal Reserve have told us that they are committed and unwavering in their goal of bringing down consumer prices. And the markets didn't like what they say. And you need to know the real data that's lurking beneath the single-digit number. So in this video, I'm going to break down what's actually going on behind that number, what the data actually shows us, how it's nothing like the Fed, the President, and the mainstream media want you to believe it is, what this means for you, the consumer, your retirement, and what the Fed will most likely do next, and what you need to be prepared for. So let's go. All right, welcome back, my awakened lions. Congratulations on taking responsibility for your own life. I get it. It's confusing. You don't know where to look for the data. You don't understand. They're telling you one thing, but you think there's something else going on. Don't worry, I got your back. We're going to take this information and make it super easy to understand. And like always, down in the description, there's a link where you can download my entire slide pack, all the research, all the charts that I have here if you want to look at it later or share it with a friend. And while you're in that description down below, check out that link. I'm hosting a live presentation where I'm going to show you what this data means to me and what I'm doing with my own money, what I expect to happen, how I'm going to navigate that. You can join me with that link down below. We're going to do live question and answer. You don't want to miss it. All right, let's jump in. So everything's fine, right? I love this meme right here. There's this meme, you know, of the fire and the dog sitting there and like everything's okay. Here we have Biden with his glasses on. He should just be eating the ice cream cone, right? Everything's okay, right? Well, let's see. They are scrambling. The White House is scrambling right now all over the news this week because of the latest data that just came out, which goes against everything they would have us believe. And what is that? Well, it's this Biden's remark from last month about 0%. As a matter of fact, let's hear it directly from the president's mouth. Let's play that clip.
Zero. Today, we received news that our economy had 0% inflation in the month of July. 0%.
All right, so you heard it. We have 0% inflation, right? That's what he said. Well, not exactly. That's not exactly what we have. Like I said, we're going to peel back past the narrative. We're going to look at the exact data. But I want you to just frame up a couple things first. So one, the White House, the President, the White House, and the Federal Reserve, Jay Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, says that they are strongly committed, not just committed, but strongly committed. Not they just want to, they would like to. No, they are strongly committed to inflation fight. We're going to come back to that in a little bit. Just keep that in their mind. But just like I want to show you what strongly committed looks like when it comes to inflation. So this is a CPI chart. This is going back till 2009. This gray area right here represents the 2008 Great Financial Crash. This is the CPI data going back till 2009. Here we are right here today at our new print of 8.3%. All right, the red line that I've added here is about, this is where the goal of the Federal Reserve is. So their goal is they want it to be at 2%. So they only want to steal 2% of your wealth per year. That's all, only 2%. Why not, right? But that's their goal. Now, what you can see here is that they've had a hard time actually getting that. It went a little bit above 2% here, but for the most part, it's been below the line. It barely popped out there, barely popped out there. But for the most part, so 2014, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, even 2020, the story was we can't get the inflation. No matter what we do, no matter how much money we pump into the system, we can't get the desired target of 2%. Well, then they said something, Jerome Powell said, we're gonna let it run hot, meaning we're gonna overshoot the target and then we'll just take an average. When they went to overshoot the target, it went up to 9%. So the goal was 2, they ended up at 9. That shows you the precision that they have. That's why I wanted to see this visually. So if they're committed to getting it back down to 2%, I'd ask you a question. Do you think they're going to land exactly on 2%, or are they going to overshoot the goal by as much as they overshot it? And the last time, you can leave me a comment down below and let me know. Hit the goal or overshoot it? Let me know. Drop either one of those while you're at it. If you want, give me some thumbs up on this video while you're at it. Oh, and hit that subscribe button. Okay, I also want to show you that it's not just the Fed, and it's not just the the Fed and the Biden administration that's off. All analysts are, pretty much all analysts are off. 47 of 50 economists missed this. So a couple of them had it. It was BMO, BMO is the one that got it at the 8.3. HSBC was 8.2, B of A 8.2, Ings 8.2. They're all pretty close. JP Morgan Chase 8.1, and it goes down from there. So all the analysts were off. Everyone was expecting to be lower than it is, and it was shocking to be this high. However, in my opinion, the data is even more shocking if you get past the narrative. So let's dig into this. But the first thing, I want to pull up this word real quick, gaslighting. You hear it all the time, right? The media, the White House, they're gaslighting you. What does that mean? Well, what it means is that it's a form of emotional abuse. As a matter of fact, I have the definition right here. I just thought you should read this. What is gaslighting? It's a form of manipulation to make the victim, that would be you, make the victim believe what's happening to them isn't actually happening. And the reality they have is not true. Well, what you're seeing isn't true. Oh no, prices aren't really going up. As a matter of fact, we have no inflation, right? That's what they're saying. A few examples are lying or denying something and refusing to admit the lie. So what's that they're saying? Oh, they're saying, let's go, Brandon. That's not what the crowd was saying, right? What you're hearing isn't what you're hearing. It's insisting that you're remembering it wrong. Oh no, that's not how it was. It was totally different. All the facts, everything basically coming out of the White House, telling you that you're overreacting when you call them out on it. So these are forms of gaslighting. Now that you know this, you'll understand what that word is. So when they say things like, the data is actually good, like, actually, wages are going up, that's a good thing. Or prices have actually been flat. Well, we're going to look at the data, and we're going to find out if they are gaslighting us all. So, like I said, forget the facts, forget the opinions. Let's look at the facts. Let's look at the data and see exactly what it says here. All right, the details. So, if we dig into the nitty-gritty, we open up the curtains, let's see what we can see. I like this first chart, and then we'll dig into a little bit more detail. I like this chart because it's colorful. So what we can see here is these are prices, and they're tracking along pretty flat. And now we can see them here in 2021 taking off, right? And what we can see here is these different colors are different assets. So what we have here in the blue, so this blue section is services. So when you want to get your car washed or your massage or your hair cut or whatever, right? Those are services that you would pay for. And what you can see is they are going up. So services are actually up by a lot. Then we have food is this yellow part right here. And what we can see is that, yep, food is up as well. Then we have in the blue part is commodities. And so we can see right here, yep, they're up as well. So we can see services are up, commodities up, and food's up. So what came down? Oh, this orange part. This orange part came down a little bit. What's that? Oh, that's energy. So energy came down a little bit, even though everything else in the basket went up. Well, that's interesting. Let's take a look at that. As a matter of fact, let's dig a little bit deeper into the details. There's a couple things that I highlighted here I wanted to show you. So these are the categorization of all the expenses that we have here. This is from the BLS website. This is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They're the ones that put out the number. There's a screenshot from their website. Again, in the description, there's a link. You can download this whole slide pack, all these charts if you want to look at them. Okay, and so we have month over month, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. This is the last month reading. Now what we have here is under energy, so all this is energy commodities, gasoline, fuel oil, energy services, and electricity. And that is what's come down. So when I look at the entire month, the only thing that's come down is energy, and we have a little bit, 0.1 of cars, used cars. So that's used cars and trucks came down a little bit. Okay, so really the only thing that came down is energy. And I want to dig into that for a minute because that is where this real manipulation lies, and it tells us what's coming next. Okay, so looking at energy, there's a couple things that we're going to dig into. First of all, this picture right here, gas shortage. No more than 10 gallons of gas per customer. In the 70s, there was a massive energy crisis. An oil crisis led to a gas crisis. And depending on what your license plate was, you could only get gas on certain days of the week. You'd have to wait in line for hours and hours and hours. Sometimes by the time you got up there, they were out of gas. They limited how much you can get, 10 gallons at a time, and so forth. Now that's an interesting parallel in time that we're going to come back to, so don't forget that date. But let's take a look at this. So gasoline. So gasoline is down big time, right? Congratulations, Joe Biden is patting himself on the back because he brought the prices down. So if he is responsible to get the prices down, then he should also be responsible for them going up in the first place. If he can control the weather, I mean, the energy prices. So let's take a look at this. So here's average price of gasoline. Okay, this is going back to 2015. So you can see from 2015, they've been pretty flat. So they've spent a lot of time below $2.50, a little bit of time above $2.50, but it's about the average. So for the last, 7, 8 years, it's been about $2.50 a gallon. Now right here is where President Biden took office. And I would probably actually put it right back here because that's when he actually won the election. He didn't actually take office for a while later. As you can see, since he took office, gas prices have shot up. And they haven't just shot up a little bit. As a matter of fact, they're up 120% since he took office, 120%. Now remember, he's taking credit for lowering the prices, so he should also take credit for the prices going up, right? Pat himself on the back. Now, he's claiming it. He's brought prices back down. I'll give him credit. He's brought them down by 19%. So great. Hey, I like it, man. It was getting really expensive to fill up my truck with gas. I'm happy prices are down 20%. But they're still up over 76% from when he took office. So one thing let's keep in mind is if CPI went from 9.1, then it went to 8.5, and now it went to 8.3. This is the last 3 months. It went from 9.1 to 8.3. That doesn't mean prices are coming down. That means prices are still going up, just at a little bit of a slower rate. But in this example, energy is the only thing that came down. It's the only thing. I'm going to tell you why in a second. But I want you to keep in mind, yes, prices have come down by 19%. It's considerable. But we're still up 76%. Okay, that's gas. Now let's take a look at this, oil. As you know, it takes oil to make gasoline. There's other factors that contribute as to why it's so expensive. As a matter of fact, I did a video explaining how the Biden administration is actually pushing gas prices up through the refineries. Let's link that video right up here. But if we look at the oil, same thing, going back to the same period, back from 2015. I've added a red line here so you can see where kind of this median price is, about a $50 per barrel of oil. And what we can see here again, this is when President Biden took office. Not the day he was elected, which had actually started going up from there, but the time that he actually took office. And what we can see is that oil prices have gone up like crazy. As a matter of fact, they've gone up 155% since he took office. Now, he's taken credit for himself. Congratulations, you've brought him down by 25%. So he supposedly has gotten gas prices down 20. I say supposedly, hang on, I'm going to show you why. He's got them down 25%, but they're still up 90% today. So don't be fooled by that little piece of data. All right, now what I want to show you is this. Now, how has Biden been able to really get those prices back down? As a matter of fact, I believe, I saw this report the other day, I believe that the new oil and gas permits to get more oil out of the ground, so if there's a price problem, supply and demand, we would get more supply to the market, should bring the price down. The amount of oil and gas drilling permits that have been issued under the Biden administration is like the lowest of any president ever, or like since the 40s or something like that. So he certainly hasn't helped bring prices down because of adding more supply, that's for sure. What he actually has done is he's added more supply by dumping our reserves. So typically you would have a reserve for like a rainy day. On my motorcycle, it has like a reserve tank, so when I run out of gas, I can flip it to the reserve and I get about 20 more miles, right? So you have that reserve in case of emergency. The US has that. We have something called a SPR, or Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Now, we started building up, this is an important point, we started building this up in the 80s. Why is that an important point? Well, you remember in the 70s, we had this massive oil and gas crisis. And so when we finally got to the other side of that, it seemed like, shoot, that was really bad. We should probably build up a reserve just so we don't have that problem again. So it's important to understand that, because right here in the 80s, where this red oil is pointing, we are at the lowest level we've ever been since this time when we started filling it up in the first place. So you can see it took quite a while to get full right here. And now weekly ending right here puts us at 638,000 barrels. It's 30% drop in the oil. So gas prices have come down 20%. Oil prices have come down about 30%. How much oil has he dumped from our reserves? That's right, 30%. So congratulations. However, it's kind of false. It's definitely manipulated, and it puts us into a much more dangerous situation. On top of that, this can't last. As a matter of fact, it probably won't last, probably past the election would be my term. Probably November, midterms, probably he stops dumping it. He doesn't need to bring the gas down anymore, and he'll probably hold off. So that's a key piece. Watch for November. Watch for energy prices to come back up and what that's going to do to the CPI. I had a chart here about the oil crisis. You don't need to see that. Oh, and one more thing. And then here's the natural gas. So energy prices of natural gas have also come down as well. Now, I pulled this chart all the way back to 1999. The reason why is because I wanted you to see how natural gas prices had actually spiked. This is in 2008 right here. Now, after 2008, you can see natural gas prices came way down. Why? That's because we had a new invention, a new form of technology called fracking. We found out that we are so energy independent and so abundant, we'll probably never run out of energy. And that brought the price of energy down so cheap. And you can see since about 2011, we've enjoyed a very low rate. Again, here we are, Joe Biden takes office, threatens to shut it all down, and look at the increase in natural gas. All right, now that you understand that a little bit, let's keep digging in. All right, now we also have to understand that the consumer is in trouble. Now, according to the press release this week on the CPI number, it's okay because the consumer's in very good shape. According to the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, I think is her name, she says that the consumer is actually really good. The economy is doing amazing in historical standards, she says. They say that real wages are up. Gaslighting you. Let's take a look at the data. What we can see here in a chart, when we adjust wages for inflation, we can see that wages are way down. As a matter of fact, they're all the way down here to the 80s. That's right, when we were coming out of the last big energy crisis. This is starting to register for you. And so even though you're making more money today, now whatever, minimum wage is like 15 bucks, that's cool, except for the prices of everything has gone up. So you have to adjust those real wages for inflation, and you can see you're not making any more money. On top of that, so the consumer's not able to keep up with the rate of prices increasing. Their wages are not keeping up with inflation. On top of it, the consumer sentiment is horrible. This is the University of Michigan. They run the biggest poll on consumer sentiment. And what we can see, consumer sentiment right here is the lowest level since they've started taking the survey. This goes all the way back to the 1970s. Now, it's lower than the crisis in the 80s. It's lower than the crash in the 90s. It's lower than the sentiment at the dot-com bubble, which was a massive bust. It's lower than it was after the 2008 great financial crash when the whole global financial system melted down. It's worse than that. We are right here. It's worse than the pandemic, which was right here. It's that bad. Now, why? Why does that matter? Well, again, they're gaslighting. They're saying we're strong historically. We're saying everything's okay. We're saying the consumer is really strong. The problem is that real wages are down, sentiment's horrible, which means the consumer doesn't want to spend any money even if they had it. And that's a big problem because personal consumption expenditures make up about 70% of the federal tax receipts. So the government taxes you, they bring money in, that's income, then they spend money, right? 70% of their income comes from consumer spending. So if real wages are down and sentiment is down, the consumer's not spending. And what we can see on top of that is the consumer is actually getting more and more credit Look at this credit expansion. This is just since July of 2021, so just over a year. Look at the increase of credit, and we can see that personal income is dropping at the same time. Those are not the trends that you want to see developing. You want them to be moving in the opposite direction. All right, now remember, consumer sentiment is low. Remember, tax receipts are going to take a drop. Stick with that. We're going to come back to that. What's next? All right, the Fed, they're going to show resolve. As a matter of fact, I pulled this so you could see these are sensational words. I want you to see it from their own mouth. Powell says the Fed must, quote, show resolve in fighting inflation. They're committed, as they said. We're committed. We're going to show resolve. What does that mean? Tell central bankers, we must, every word they say is measured. We must keep at it until the job is done. Keep at what? Keep at what? Well, they've said that they have to crush demand. They want to crush demand to try to tame inflation. Remember, prices on a fulcrum, you have supply and you have demand, right? What you want is you want equilibrium on supply and demand. Problem is when you get too much demand, it can pull the prices up, or you get too little supply, that affects the prices. So until they can get prices down, handle inflation, they are going to stay committed until they get the job done. Until inflation comes down, they're going to keep at it. Keep at what? Keep raising rates, keep crushing demand. So they're going to continue to crush your retirement account, continue to crush your real estate, continue to crush your job, continue to crush the economy until they see prices coming down. Okay, so they're committed. They have resolve. Now they have to raise the prices even more. The CPI print was way hotter than 47 out of 50 economists, including the Federal Reserve. They were all off, which means they have to keep at it. They have to keep at it harder. They haven't been going hard enough. Now they have to go harder. Now they're showing a rate hike expectation of 100 basis points. We've been getting 25, 50, we got 75. Now they're talking about 100. They want to pull out the big guns. It's a 47% odds. It's about a 50-50 chance they go to 100 basis points on this next one. Remember, they are committed to stay at it, only harder until the job is done, until they get that number down. It looks like now the trajectory could show the federal funds rate to be as high as 4.5%. Now think about this for a minute. At 3%, just using some round numbers, we have about a $31 trillion of federal debt. 31 trillion, call it 30 for easy numbers. At 3% interest, that means it's $1 trillion just in interest alone. It's about 30%, a little less, maybe 25% of the total income of the government just to pay the interest on the debt. Now, going back to what I showed before, if 70% of that is consumer spending and the consumer is getting completely hammered, what happens with the tax receipts and what happens with the national debt or the interest as it goes past 3% to 4.5%? The problem is that the Fed is committed to staying at it until the job is done. At it, raising rates. The problem is they're attacking the wrong lever. Remember the supply and demand. So if prices are too high, there's two ways to do it. They could add more supply or they could crush demand. Of course, they're trying to crush demand. Why not try to add more supply? We could all have more abundance. Seems like it'd be better. The problem is that they're trying to attack the demand side of the equation, but that's not where the problem's from. The problem is from the supply side. Supply chains are breaking down. Energy is in short supply. And so because of that, they're attacking the wrong lever. I don't believe they're going to have success. I believe that inflation is probably the lowest we'll see over the next decade. Nothing goes up and down a straight line, so it may go up and down like this, but over the long run, they're attacking the wrong lever. Now, asset prices, assets, your retirement account, your stocks, your real estate, those could all get crushed, but that is not included in CPI. Those are assets. They're talking about consumer prices, the price that you pay for goods when you go to the store. So yes, your assets are going to get completely wiped out if they stick at it, in their own words, but that's not what they're looking for. They want to see consumer prices coming down, and that's why I think the Fed can't win. They're looking at the wrong lever. Inflation is going to be some of the lowest now that we'll see for the next decade because they're attacking the wrong lever, and it could even push prices up. Now, I expect them to continue to stay at it for a little while longer before they're forced to pivot. And I have a game plan for that. If you want to know what I'm doing, and I'll back all this up with evidence, there's a link down below if you want to come hang out with me. Join me, live question and answer. I'll show you what I'm doing. Check it out. Like I said, as always, if you want to download all this with all the graphics and charts, everything I have, there's also a link for that down below. Otherwise, I'd love to hear what you think. Leave me a comment down below and let me know if the Fed is going to be able to achieve their goal. They're going to stay at it. Are they going to be able to achieve their goal? Yes or no? Leave that in the comments. As always, give me a thumbs up for this video if you like it. If you don't, that's okay. Give me a thumbs down. While you're at it, tell me why in the comments and hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. And that's it. To your success. I'm out.